Welcome back to the Prepared Mind channel. A lot of people accuse us preppers of being too serious. They accuse us who are watching the rest of the world of being unrealistic, out of our minds, right? And so I've got a great news article here from the WashingtonExaminer.com, and we're going to discuss some things. And it does have a direct application to our prepping plans, to the way we think and the way we perceive others. Okay, so I started off saying, hey, look, what are preppers? We're people who take facts. We look at real facts. We have real information. Probably when we examine things, we don't examine them very narrowly. We try and get a broad perspective. I know I do. I'm sure you do as well. Last thing we want to do is make a critical mistake in a critical situation like shit hitting the fan, right? So, we often talk about, well, from where I stand or I sit, right, compared to those of the people out there, where are we at mentally, right? Chance favors the prepared mind? You bet. Does chance favor the deceived mind? No. Does chance favor the ill-informed mind? No. Does chance favor a weak mind? A coddled mind? Does chance favor any mind that isn't well prepared, well informed? Right? The answer is no. Those minds are set for failure. Now, if the nation was a nation of preppers, if we were 95% preppers instead of the other way around, we would all be saving instead of blowing our money. We would all be doing proper things, and the government, if it was 95% preppers, because we elected preppers, because we are preppers, the country wouldn't be deficit spending. It would be saving. It would be reducing taxes. It would be reducing government expenditure. We would be doing a lot of things differently, and we wouldn't be in this situation where shit was going to hit the fan. But it's the opposite. Now, this isn't a self-congratulatory moment for us or you and I. You're allowed to do that on your own time. But what is incredible is how we've watched government take this progressive step. Society, culture, law, media, everything is taking these progressive steps into the well-charted realms of ignorance and stupidity. We're watching them do it yet again. But I've got this example of something that is going to cause us and cause other people innumerable damage and harm. Okay, AOC is Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. She is a woman from Brooklyn, I believe, who represents her congressional district. She's a ding-dong. She's promoting ideas that are outlandishly beyond what I'm going to guess the most ardent socialists would ever prescribe, because it's so bound to fail that even they wouldn't do it. But, she's ridiculous. But she has now put forward the most hilarious lie, according to the article. Millennials are the most informed, historically literate generation. Now, this isn't about bashing on millennials as 100% of their group, or it's not even about bashing millennials as much as it's understanding the psychology of youth. The psychology of youth is, I have my whole life ahead of me. I can do anything with it. And that's true. But you can't do anything with your life if it's full of lies, if it's full of the temptations of ignorance. You've got your whole life ahead of you, right, to make mistakes as well as make good decisions. So she's also saying, right, you're historically literate. We're going to get into the article, and we're going to understand why the youth in America have been corrupted, and they are just going to they're going to do their contributory part to shit hitting the fan. So let's kind of get into this. Have a couple laughs. Seriously. Throw your head back and have a good laugh. Read this article yourself. For conservative commentators, Representative Ocasio-Cortez is the gift that keeps on giving. The latest instance is a recent Instagram live video in which she claims the young people are more informed and dynamic than their predecessors. The social media starlet goes on to say, this new generation is very profound. They actually take time to read and understand our history. Those are lies. She just completely lies. Now, what she's doing is she's taking advantage of a psychological trick to take youth who are full of life and vibrancy and energy, who have their whole lives ahead of them, and blow smoke up their ass and tell them how good they are, because this is the trophy generation where everyone's a winner and no one's a loser. And she's convincing them, hey, you could think like me because this is what I think of you. It's the one hand washes the other psychology. Okay. So the author goes on to write, this frankly is absurd from the point to the point of hilarity. Nothing could be further from the truth. That's his opinion. But the millennial generation and Generation Z behind them, of which I am part. In other words, the author is part of these generations. Right? They're not old like me. The author is young and sees this problem and sees the hilarity in it. Once again, the prepared mind has facts, not a belief. The prepared mind has taken the time to read and understand. Other people just want to have self-congratulatory crap handed to them. A star pinned on their chest and told they're heroes for doing nothing. Anyways, he says, I'm a part of this generation. It's uniquely disengaged from history and woefully uninformed. Which we went on to prove naturally in praising the new generation as the first willing to go to the streets and protest, right? What about the 1960s? Yeah. But she disproves her own point in more ways than one. Young people increasingly identify as socialist, which on its own shows they are woefully ignorant of history. Correct. That ideology of failure and oppression has a very dark past, which very few are aware. And only 16% of millennials, that's 1 in 6, are even able to define socialism in the first place. Yet they say, I'm a socialist, but they can't define it, nor do they know it's very dark and murderous and destructive history. So they are not well-read and well-informed and profound and well thought out. They're not. Just based on this one statistic. But let's go on. As far as broader historical literacy goes, 2 of 3 millennials, that's 66%, the same generation that Ocasio-Cortez deems informed and dynamic, 2/3 do not even know what Auschwitz is. Right? Ignorance of the Nazi death camp is terrible, and they're not aware of the Holocaust, right? Should we be surprised? No, not really. When you look at the young people's habits, according to Business Insider, millennials spend far less time consuming news overall than older adults, and the time they do spend is concentrated on digital consumption. Millennials ages 21 to 37 consume about 30% of the amount of news that adults 38 and older consume. In other words, they're doing less than 1/3 of the information intake than we do. And as preppers, you and I do a lot more than the average person. Now, growing up, I'd come home from school, or it's the weekend, you go through the day, you get ready for dinner, and the news is on TV because you had ABC, NBC, CBS, and you would just catch the news. You'd get informed, right? The newspapers, you used to sit down and read, and you would put everything else out of mind. Now, this world, and I'm guilty of it as much as anyone else, it is full of entertainment. What entertainment do you want? Do you want sports? Do you want recreational entertainment? Do you want porn? Do you want, what is it you want? It's available. 24/7, 365 on your tablet, on your iPhone, on your Samsung phone, right? And so people would rather be entertained than informed. And I understand that, because I got to tell you, after 8 hours of information digestion in a day, I like to kind of sit back and relax and let it all go. But these kids, they only get, and this is 37 years and younger. They're not kids. They are only 1/3 as informed as my generation and the boomers. The reason is is they would rather be entertained. They're not challenged by life to understand life and apply life and reality and facts as us preppers have. Okay? Many young people don't read books at all. That's not supported by any sort of statistic. Per Forbes, that's Forbes magazine, 38% of students at public and private four-year colleges reported that books have never gotten me very excited. And 45 say, I don't enjoy reading serious books and articles. Serious books and articles have to do with history, news, philosophy, science. Right? These statistics come as little surprise. Take it from someone on the border of both Generation Z and Millennial generation. That's basically the same age as my sons, right? They're on the back end of millennials and they're on the front end of Gen Z. Today's young people are not the most informed generation or anywhere close. If they were, Ocasio-Cortez wouldn't have a mass social media following in the first place. Right. Because she is there to hand out goodies. Ocasio-Cortez has done exactly what was done with her and the millennials, and that was they've been heaped praise for doing nothing. What has Ocasio-Cortez done besides mix a few drinks and be given a platform of the new Green Deal which she could share with the world? She didn't create that. And if she did, where would she get the ideas? And if she researched those ideas, she would have found the history, and the history would be replete with failures at the application of any of those concepts, those political ideas. Because they don't work economically, they don't work socially. They conflict with culture and reasoned thought. So where does this all apply to us, me and you as preppers? We have a massive percentage of these younger generations. These people are supposed to literally be the workhorses. Age 40 and younger, you're supposed to bust your ass and your back. You're supposed to work harder for less money in those ages because that's how the fucking game plays. Right? You get older, a little more tired, a little more beat up, and a little wiser. And that is critical. You get to do jobs that are more suitable for your level of intellect and training and experience, as well as getting paid a little more for having that intellect and wisdom and experience. These young people are told, you're the most informed, you're the most intellectual, right? You are profound. Misapplication of a word, right? Anyways. The new generation is very profound. They actually take time to read and understand our history. No, they do not. What they've done is they've listened to indoctrination through the schooling process, being told how George Washington and Thomas Jefferson were slave owners and scumbags and rapists and liars, and how other people were murderers and how they stole and cheated, and being white is wrong. Young people have been mass indoctrinated. So this type of crap coming out of AOC's mouth is very appealing to them because it's a continuation on their part of a thinking process that lacks critical information. They lack critical information and critical understanding because they have been coddled and denied history and denied information and denied the ability to think for themselves. They've been denied the exposure to hard work so they can truly understand it. And I'm telling you, it doesn't take long. Put someone in a ditch with a shovel for 8 hours a day for 2 weeks, and they'll come to understand the meaning of hard labor, and they'll see the value in the railroads and the tunnels. They'll see the value in construction because they will have lived it at least a little bit. Right? And it's the same with the military. When someone goes in the military and you get kicked in the ribs a few times, right, and you get physically exhausted and hammered down, you can appreciate and value how that works. Millennials and Gen Xers on the bottom end and Gen Z on the top end, they have grown up in this trophy generation where everyone's a winner. When shit hits the fan, they're going to carry that same mentality that lacks experience and wisdom, yet demands to be accepted and demands to be praised and demands to be satiated, pleased when they make a demand. When they say, I want, they want it now. right? You could listen to them. Go to a bar. They'll tell a bartender like AOC, give me a drink, and name the drink. They're not polite. They're not grateful and thankful. It's a very interesting phenomena. It's got its roots in psychology. What the political class is not concerned about is this younger generation producing anything. They are being groomed to destroy our country. That process has been started and it's near its completion. Our country is teetering on the brink. We call it shit hitting the fan. Now, what they don't realize is this army of idiots, because those amongst them who haven't read and don't know history and are morons, literally morons, they are not going to fight hard for the new revolution. They're not going to be hardworking, dedicated socialists who will put out 100% effort and make it work. They're going to be quite the opposite. If you think regular humanity helped ruin or prove that socialism was an abject failure, wait till these millennials who don't want to lift a spoon from their plate to their mouth. Wait till they're given the hard task of running this country. But that doesn't mean they're not going to be a risk and a threat. They will be a burden. They'll come to your door and ask for food and demand food and accuse you of hoarding the food and accuse you of being the bad person that caused the trouble in the first place. They will accuse everyone else. This generation, or the parts of it that have failed to learn and failed to flight, that is, grow up and start producing for themselves, they are the adversary. They are the enemy of human life because they take from it. Socialism is the enemy of life because it demands and doesn't provide freedom. Freedom is what helps us produce. When they take freedom, we can't produce as much, nor do we have the desire to produce as much. So yes, governments like to tell us we're free. America, land of the free, home of the brave. Well, that was true maybe 150 years ago, but it's been less so ever since, and it's becoming a less believable story ever since. What do you mean it's the land of the free? I can't even say what I want without getting grimaces from people and being shamed. I can't go and buy ammunition without getting carded and having to what? Have a birth certificate with my driver's license? What am I applying for a U.S. passport, or am I trying to buy some ammo, right? So I can go shoot my 22. We are not that free. We're being monitored right now. We're monitored electronically. Your phone has a GPS app on it where they can follow you around and see where you're at if they want to. We're not free. We're closely watched. Shit is going to hit the fan. Things are going to fall apart. These millennials, and anyone in any group for that matter, whether it's Gen X or even boomers, where people have been parasitic, right? They have been coddled and given while producing less. It's had a destructive effect. These millennials that are destructive parasites, they're being congratulated on being so good at that. When shit hits the fan, they're going to continue to be an anchor, and they're going to be a deadly, deadly detriment. What I think everyone should recognize is that once you've done the research and you have facts in hand, not just an opinion, but facts, what are we going to do with these people when shit hits the fan? What are we going to do with them? What can we count on them to do? That's important. Not what we want them to do, because that's idealistic. What can we count on them to do? Based on history and fact, statistical analysis. We can count on them being anchors. We can count on them putting holes in the bottom of the boat instead of rowing with an oar. What can we count on government being? We can count on it being parasitic and restrictive. We can count on government trying to punish and control. Ideally, we would want it to get out of the way and make things as delightful as possible. But history, fact, shows us that government is negative. Criminals and criminal organizations like gangs, negative, destructive. We can count on that. Drugs in shit hits the fan. We can count on them being a problem. These millennials that are on mind control drugs, millennials that claim to have PTSD because they saw a scary movie, right? These people are going to cause trouble. We need to be prepared and understand that just because shit hits the fan doesn't mean they're going to just go away, right? It would be idealistic for us to think that we're going to come out like Rambo, pulling a plowshare and crops sprouting up like Johnny Appleseed, right? It's not going to happen that way. It's going to be a long, difficult, drawn-out affair, very uncomfortable. And because of that, right? Because of that, we can plan ahead because we know what truly is coming, right? The most informed, historically literate generation. I don't want to lie to you guys and tell you how easy this is going to be. I don't want to lie to you and blow smoke up your ass and say, you've got a 100% chance of making it, right? You're going to be a king. I can't do any of that. That's why it seems like such a doom and gloom topic. I find humor in lots of things, right? We need to find humor in stuff. But truth and fact, not fantasy and folly. AOC is doing a huge disservice to an entire generation, and so is Bernie Sanders. And this belief that they're going to go into a presidential election and promise free stuff, and promise that money can be created with no consequence. Money out of nothing. That's like saying, well, I can go out and just dig a hole in the ground, and magically there's going to be potatoes there because potatoes are in the ground. Or I should go to any tree and be able to pull off whatever fruit I desire because fruit grows on trees. Yeah, fruit grows on trees, but only trees in certain areas of a certain type of tree that have been cultivated and cared for. It's a lot of work in producing food and wealth and creating this marvelous civilization. But it's coming down, so get prepared. Chance favors the prepared mind is yours. Godspeed and good luck to everyone in what is coming in the next months and years. I'll talk to you again soon. Semper Fi. Right? Be cool.